Okay, everyone, we are live. We're just taking off our mute sound to make sure everyone can hear us, okay? Okay, so Mojo Originals going live at 7 p.m. It's just a few minutes after 7. I am going to log in because I'm doing a dual broadcast through Instagram. So for anyone that's out there, please, type in and let me know that you're there. So I'm just going to get the Instagram live feed going as well. We're taking over social media tonight. So just give me 1 second and we are going to get started. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I tell you, I am so excited about sharing this book with you. It's just going to be amazing. So for those of you who have already logged in, just type me a little message. Let me know that you can hear me okay. I typically do this from my cell phone, but because I'm doing dual broadcast, I want to make sure you can hear me as well on the computer. So I'm going to flip this around as well. Hi, Robin. So glad you were able to join. Okay. All right. So we are live in Instagram and we are also live in Facebook. All right. Robin says, you sound great. Thank you, Robin. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight, we are discussing the book, 9 Things a Leader Must Do. Make that a little bit higher for everyone to see. And before we begin and start our discussion of the book, I want to tell you a little bit about myself as well as Mojo Original. So Mojo Original was born from just my creative desire to want to help other people achieve their goals. And part of that is through personal and professional coaching, as well as speaking in front of large groups, doing group training and things like that. So really excited to expand this into social media and to share with you guys just different things that I have learned through my experience and what I hope to continue to do in helping others as well. So again, we're on Instagram. Hi to my Instagram family. So excited that you joined us. And hello to my Facebook family. So excited you have joined us as well. Just really happy to go through this with you guys. If you have any questions throughout our broadcast, definitely type them in so that I can respond to your comments and to your questions and talk those through with you. So let's get started in 9 Things a Leader Must Do. The first part of this in the book by Dr. Henry Cloud, he talks about the deja vu leader and what he discovered as he met with different leaders and the behaviors and the things that he was able to observe is he noticed that they all had certain qualities that each of those leaders possessed. And so we'll talk through the first 4 of the 9 things that a leader must do. So number 1 in the book was excavate your soul. So something that I took away from this, and I'm just going through some of my notes, the thing that I wrote down was dig into your core, your dreams, your strengths, and tap into your resources. So excavate your soul. Thinking for yourself, what are some things that you've always wanted to do? Either what type of career you wanted to have, what type of dreams you wanted to follow, what is in the innermost part of who you are, and how has that flourished or how has that been hidden inside? And for a lot of us, I think that it's really hidden inside. And the circumstances of life that get in our way, if you will, cause us to not fulfill what is truly at the core of who we are, what God has placed upon us for the things that drive us and just are special and internal to us. We allow life to get in the way and to prevent us from moving forward. What Dr. Cloud says on page 17 in that first aspect of what a leader must do, the principle number 1 is to listen to their heart and invest in their inner desires and drives. So what lies deep inside is where the real life begins. So think about it for yourself. What are some things, what are your hidden treasures? right? And feel free to type those in and we can talk through that. What are your hidden treasures? Is your hidden treasure that you enjoy art and that you're a fantastic painter? Is your hidden treasure that you love to sing? And these are personal things that aren't necessarily applied to when you think of leadership and I'm in a leadership position. It's not about a position. It's about an action, your ability to inspire and move others. But starting with understanding what is in your heart, what is your internal treasure. Leadership success is the process of digging up the treasures of the invisible soul in order to bring dreams, desires, and talents into the visible world. Sorry about that. My bonus baby is calling me. Porter, will you text your brother and tell him I'm doing a Facebook and Instagram live broadcast and I can't answer his call right now. Sorry about that. That's my bonus baby calling. But he talks about the treasures of the invisible soul, bringing those talents into the visible world. So what are some of your invisible treasures that you have? What's inside of you that you have either not tapped into or you have allowed others to diminish? Unfortunately, we do that to each other. That's a sad thing that we do. And I believe it comes from just our conditioning of how maybe we were brought up or what someone does to us. But we tend to diminish the internal treasures of others, those invisible treasures that they have. So in order to optimize your opportunities as a leader, and what Dr. Cloud found the Deja Vu leader did was that they became aware of what their dreams and their desires were and their talents. They listened to those and the value of life itself. They took steps to develop them. They sought coaching and opportunity to make them grow. For those of you that are here today, you're here today because you want to grow. Otherwise, there are plenty of things that you could do with your time on a Thursday evening, but you're here because you want to grow. Really tapping into excavating your own soul and finding your treasures. So I'll give you an example, and I'll give you an example of just even myself. Where did Mojo Original come from? It has always been an internal treasure, an invisible treasure, if you will, that I love influencing and inspiring and motivating other people to be their very best self. And I would say that has probably been, that's who I've been my entire life in one way or another. And throughout time, that internal treasure, the invisible treasure inside, it developed through the different experiences that I had and allowed me to move forward in my career. Now, the great thing for me is that I come from a family that really encouraged and motivated me to tap into that invisible treasure. My mother, if you will, probably fostered it very much in my creativity and my imagination and just the things that I wanted to do. She encouraged that. My father encouraged that. My siblings encouraged that in me. And through that, as I became older, I really started to tap into and figure out what motivates me and what moves me from the gifts that I feel God has given to me. And that gift is my ability to connect with other people, my ability to help others through situations, to realize their potential, to help them grow, to be stronger and better in whatever it is that they so choose to do. And so with that, I could sit on it or I could spread it out. And that's where Mojo Original came from. That's where starting this live broadcast came from. It was very easy for me to listen to the naysayers. Oh, there's enough people out there doing that, Susan. Like, we don't need another motivational speaker. You have a job, just stick with your job. Why do you want to do that on the side? Or even in a critical aspect of, so do you think you're better than other people? And, you want to showcase and showboat. And I could have taken that and diminished the internal gift that I had inside. But instead, I listened to my heart and to my desires, and I stayed on track for the path that I believe God has in place for me. And I sought and continue to seek out other people who will help me develop that skill and will help me develop what it is that I'm working to do. So when excavating your own soul, what are your treasures that you have inside? What are the things that you are not allowing your potential to be realized? So for example, he says on page 22, God has granted to us potential realities for leadership and success at many levels. It is our job to dig up whatever potential we have. The choice is whether we are going to allow fear and experiences to keep our potential buried or choose to step out in faith and see that potential turned into reality. What's your potential? What's your potential? And what is it that you have always dreamed of doing? What is that internal treasure in the invisible world that you need to bring forward to the visible world? And with that treasure, how are you going to bring it forward to the visible world? So what negative talk do you have to stop telling yourself? It starts with us. We are our biggest critic. We are the first ones to beat ourselves up. We speak so awful to ourselves. That has to stop. And from there, you excavate your soul and you find those treasures and you find that passion and you find the things that are inside of you, and you begin the process of turning what's invisible in your invisible world and bringing that forward into your visible world. Going through this first chapter in excavating your soul, and so there was a comment that said, before I move forward, we all have gifts, and I agree we should not diminish who we are so others are able to feel comfortable around us. That is so true, Sonia, and I thank you for saying that, because that is exactly what we do. We diminish ourselves to make other people feel comfortable. And we do that as women. We do that as women with our significant others. You know, I love our male species and you are fantastic. And the great man that helps to push a woman up is an amazing man, and vice versa. As women, we can diminish our significant other's potential. We can do that with our siblings. We can do that even with our coworkers. You work side by side with someone and you have talents and ideas and things that you want to bring forward, but you don't speak up because it makes the person next to you uncomfortable. And because they're uncomfortable with your boldness, because they are uncomfortable with your willingness to take a risk, they will work to diminish that invisible treasure inside of you so that it is not visible to the outside world. So that is an excellent point, Sonia. So talking about risk, that sometimes is definitely what it turns out to be. You have to be willing at times to step out on a limb and to make yourself visible to your boss, with your customers, with your coworkers, with your family, with your friends, whomever it may be, to make yourself visible to allow that internal treasure to shine. Very little growth and reward in life without taking risk. There's very little growth or reward in life without taking risk. So avoidance of risk is the greatest risk of all. Not taking a chance, right? So within that, and talking about the first chapter of 9 Things That a Leader Must Do, and talking through your potential, some notes that I took away of excavating your soul was digging up those treasures, as we mentioned before. What is that treasure for you? And I want you to, if you are listening or taking notes or just even think it through for yourself, what is the treasure that you need to dig up in your own heart and in your soul? What is it that has been placed upon you that you have kept buried or have been afraid to take a risk and step out on faith in what it is that truly speaks to you? What negative feelings do you have that you need to eliminate? How do you need to, what negative self-talk do you need to eliminate? And not only in excavating your soul from what lies inside of you, but what's going on in your outside world? Is it well, I'm a mom. I've got, 2 kids, 3 kids. I don't have time to do this. I'm scared to do, I don't have the money to do this. I don't have the time to do this. There is a quote that I have on my refrigerator, and I have a big heart around it. And it says, you have the same number of hours in the day as Beyonce. So anyone who knows me personally knows that I am a huge Beyonce fan. And she has 24 hours in her day. I have 24 hours in my day. It's all about how I use my time and how she uses her time in achieving her goals and her dreams. Now, I'm not on my way to be on the big stage singing and dancing and putting on concerts. I am a great singer in my own mind, but I definitely am not going to sell any records. But I have my own treasures inside. So how do I use my 24 hours? Because we all have the same 24 hours in the day. It's just a matter of how we utilize that time to help us in achieving what our goals and our dreams may be, and digging and finding that within ourselves. Stopping out the negative self-talk and realizing that you do have potential and working on how to achieve it. He says on page 27, one of the worst things you can die with is potential. So excavate your soul and find your potential. And definitely, again, share with us any comments that you have, any thoughts that you have, because I'd love to be able to interact with you throughout our broadcast. So in excavating your soul being the first step, reaching inside and figuring out what it is that drives you, what desires do you have, what passions do you have that you have just not fulfilled for one reason or another. And once you determine that, and once you start to tap into that, and it's not something that you may determine right off the bat, it may be something that reveals itself to you over time. But if you tap into it, and if you allow yourself to be open for those treasures to come back up, then you will discover what it is, and you will find what it is. And from there, you're able to move into the next step. So in chapter 2, in 9 things that a leader must do, the second step, and the way he phrased it, was yank the diseased tooth. So the note that I made for myself in reading this chapter was, don't dwell in the negative. Free yourself from what is holding you back. So in talking through the diseased tooth and the second step of 9 things that a leader must do, deja vu leaders do not allow negative things to take up space in their lives. They do not allow negative things to take up space in their lives. So what is the negative thing that's taking up space in your life? From a personal aspect or from a professional aspect? What is the negative thing that is taking up space in your life? When I was reading through this and just thinking about myself and my position, so to tell you a little bit about what I do on the other side of the coin, right? There's Mojo Original, and we provide personal and professional growth coaching, one-on-one sessions, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So stay tuned through the end of this live broadcast, because there will be some exciting things that we'll announce at the very end, so don't dip out on us early. But in my full-time job, I work for a dental management company, and I support 6 dental offices here in the Oklahoma area. And with dentistry and working with people and thinking about my time and my energy and within my role, I have been told before that I tend to hold on to people too long. So let's talk about pulling the diseased tooth. And as we talk about this through leadership, I'm going to relate this to your profession. If you're in a position of leading a team or impacting change, handling processes or procedures, let's just take this to a point of, for me, the example I'm going to give the people that I work with. So I believe in giving people every possible chance to succeed. And within that, as I mentioned, I've been told before that sometimes I hold on to people too long. So thinking through that, and I'll jump around a little bit in this chapter, he talks about you get the negative emotion of all your problems without the benefits of solving them. Avoidance is really not helping anything, because you still expand the energy and feel the hurt. If you had simply yanked the bad tooth when it started bothering you, you would be over the pain by now. Avoidance always prolongs pain. So I'm gonna take that back to holding on to people too long. Think about where you work, the people you lead or the people you work with. There's always that person or that team member that you're just like, oh my gosh, are they ever gonna get it? Like this person causes me so much pain and so much stress and so much anxiety that it's overwhelming. And that negative energy consumes 80% of your time. And it in turn causes you to not fully invest your time and your energy on the resources that yield the greatest benefit. So when we look at the obstacles, the challenges, the people, oftentimes we want to avoid conflict. We want to avoid what we consider to be confrontation. And my take on that is I'm not a confrontational person. I don't love conflict, but I do not want to keep myself in a position of dealing with pain. So I just handle the situation and not avoid it. And when you avoid the situation, so taking it back to a team member who's not performing well, over the course of time that they were not performing well, that definitely was a trend. At what point did you stop and have the difficult conversation and say, hey, we need to sit down and talk about your performance. These are the things that I need you to do, and this is where we're not meeting goal here. You're not meeting the expectations that are lined out for you in your role. Let's talk it through and come up with a plan to put you on track so that you can be successful. And you go through that step of progressive discipline to help them. Either you coach them up and they begin to meet your needs and your expectations, and they're no longer a source of negative energy for you, or you coach them out. And at that time of coaching them out, you know that you did your job. You know that you provided the training, the tools, the feedback, everything they needed in order to be successful. And if they were unsuccessful, then it's time for them to move on and perhaps find a different career or a job that's better for them and meets their skill level above what they're able to do for you in your role. But we avoid that. We avoid having the difficult conversation because we view it as conflict. We view it as confrontation. It's not conflict and it's not confrontation. It's simply a conversation about something that may be uncomfortable, but is it better to address it now and either fill the cavity or address it later and have to pull the tooth? But the pain, you're prolonging the pain. So we have a couple of comments. One comment, I think sometimes a negative obstacle in our life may not necessarily be tangible, but mental or emotional. We have to get out of our own way. Fear. You're exactly right, Sonia. And that goes back to what we say to ourselves and that negative connotation of wanting to step out on a limb or make ourselves uncomfortable in order to achieve a long-term goal. And we're going to talk about that. That leads us into principle number 4 that we'll get to. Robin commented, as a master avoider, that quote really spoke to me. Avoidance just prolongs pain. You're right. The avoidance simply prolongs the pain. So you're causing yourself to have the negative energy. You're taking away time and energy and resources that could be used in a positive way. And instead, you're trapped in this place of not being able to move forward and dreading what's causing the pain instead of dealing with the situation and moving forward immediately. Leadership, so something that I made a note of, let's see. So it says here on page 33, sometimes the negative is not fixable and you have to give up on repairing it and toss it out. That may mean letting go of the expectation that something particular can be improved, such as a product line, a department in the company, an employee on probation, or even a pretty good idea. If you know that investing more time toward reaching a solution is never going to help, then it's time to pull the plug and move on. Forget repairing it or changing it, let it go. And that comes back into what he was saying. You either fill the cavity or you pull the tooth. We spend a lot of time and energy into things hoping and wishing on a prayer that it's going to work. Okay, I hope they can just figure out how to do this job and they do this job well. Or I hope that our sales team meets our goals and we meet our quotas and we're able to be successful, when we know that the negative train that we're on or that negative team that we have, we're not going to achieve our goals because we don't have the right energy in place and the right focus in place to help us get there. And not only do we not have it, we're not doing anything about it. We are avoiding taking action and taking the necessary steps to change the situation, to change the result. With conflict so let's talk a little bit about conflict and confrontation. So I will have team members tell me, gosh, Susan, I just hate dealing with conflict. I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. Or they say, I just hate being confrontational. I said, okay, let's talk about that. When I think of being confrontational, I think of confrontation in a very aggressive way. I'm going to confront someone because of what they did, and I'm defensive and I'm ready to go and I'm ready to charge. I'm being confrontational. All right, well, at work, taking this back to a work situation, it's not confrontation. Taking this to your friends or your family, it's not confrontation. Not if the end result that you wish to achieve is a resolution, is a solution to the problem, is a way to move forward together, not to move forward apart. If you're wanting to move forward apart, then you may go into it confrontationally because you don't care what the outcome is. You want to be right and you want to be heard, and doggone it, I'm going to say what I want to say and buck out my chest and put my fist up and let's go. Versus having a conversation about something that may be difficult, but it's still a conversation that we need to have, because the end result that I want to achieve is for us to move forward together, not for us to move forward apart. So don't be afraid of difficult conversations, and don't view those difficult conversations as being confrontational or view those conversations as being conflict. Simply view them as it's a conversation we need to have. It's a difficult conversation. I have to coach a team member who's not doing their job, and I like this person, but they're not doing their job. I'm not doing them any favors by avoiding the conversation. In fact, I'm just prolonging the pain. I'm prolonging my pain and I'm prolonging their pain. So have the conversation when the end result that you're wanting to achieve is to move forward together. And if it's a situation at work and you have to have a difficult conversation with someone because they are not performing in their role, then hopefully, as I mentioned before, you're going to help to coach them up and help move them forward. Or at the end of the day, they may have to move on, but you know that you did everything you could to help them move forward in a positive direction. When he speaks on and writes about Dr. Cloud, the cringe factor, this section of chapter 2 really spoke to me as well. It spoke to me because oftentimes we put ourselves in a situation that causes a negative reaction, right? That diseased tooth. We fill that tooth with all the sugar and we don't brush it and we don't floss it, and we get a really big fat cavity intentionally. So the cringe factor. Think about the promotion at work that you want to take. But with that promotion, it means you have to work in a department with people that you really don't care for. Or you have to work with the boss that you know has a really bad reputation of just being an awful leader. Is the promotion worth it? Is that promotion worth it for you to perhaps have a little bit more money, but to put yourself in a situation that potentially you may dread going to work every day? You may dread having to interact with certain team members. What does that do to the overall process for you in your performance? How do you excel in your new role if you don't respect or work well with or have negative emotions and cringe every time you have to go talk to that team member about something that you need to discuss? Was that promotion really worth it at the end of the day? So that's the question you have to ask yourself. So you don't put yourself in the position of being in a cringe-worthy situation for something that we may think is a long-term gain for us. But if it causes consistent negative emotion, what's the long-term gain? In the end, we lose. Maybe we made a little bit more money, but we hate what we do. We hate going to work. Therefore, that's going to trickle down. Our performance is going to suffer. Our interaction with our team is going to suffer, and our continued growth and development will also suffer. So you avoid those cringeworthy moments. He said, how you listen to that little voice inside of you. This doesn't quite feel right. We have those moments when we know something just doesn't feel right for us. I don't feel comfortable doing this or agreeing to this. This is not what I really want. This violates an important value. I'm going to resent this for a long time. I wish this were not happening. Don't put yourself in the position of dealing with a cringeworthy moment. With team members, hiring, so this is a great example when we talk about leadership and just relating this back to work, because a lot of what we do with Mojo Original is professional coaching and helping team members, helping individuals to grow in their professional career. So think about it at work. The worst thing in the world is when you're shorthanded. I mean, talk about a negative impact on your other team members, on your department, on your customer. That's the worst thing in the world. And when you're a leader and you're in the position of making those hiring decisions, it can be very tempting to get a body in the position because you feel the stress of the rest of your team. You feel the stress from your customer of being short-staffed. And so it's just, I just need to get a person in here. Let me find someone to get hired. And we make a bad hiring decision. We know it in the interview. I know it. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I have made decisions and hired people that in the interview I thought, well, okay, there are a couple of things that kind of stand out to me, but I can probably coach through this, or maybe it really won't be that big of a deal. But we really need someone, you know, my team is stressed out, my department is stressed out, my doctors are stressed out, we've got to get someone hired, and I make a poor hiring decision. That cringe-worthy moment, the cringe factor that I felt during the interview is what I should have listened to, right? Simply Mo on Instagram says she knows that all too well. Yes, because we make a quick decision to feel an area of stress only to cause ourselves a greater level of stress, not only for us directly, but also for the team and for our customers. What's the long-term negative effect of hiring the wrong person? What does that do to your customer? What does that do to the rest of your team? What does that do to you when you're the person responsible for training them? And you have to deal with that every single day because you made a poor decision in a cringe-worthy moment. So avoiding the cringe factor. And I really related that greatly to hiring, because oftentimes that's been a big area that I've just had to learn through hard knocks of it's better to remain short and to just really figure out how to support my team and how to motivate my team than it is to put the wrong person into a position, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So this plays into the third thing that a leader must do, and that's playing the whole movie. So in chapter 3, he talks about deja vu leaders evaluate their decisions in the present based on how they will affect the future. So my note in this chapter was recognize the result of each action. See the long-term picture, be able to make sacrifice today for the desired end result. That was my takeaway in reading chapter 3. He gave a couple of scenarios leading up to the principle of deja vu leaders evaluating their present decisions based on the future. And I love the example, the story he told of the old man sitting on the bench, and a young gentleman sat down next to him and asked him for the time, and he ignored them, and the young man, said again, like, sir, you have on a watch. Did I offend you? Like, I asked you what time it is, you have on a watch, and you're not answering me. And the old man replies, well, I'm not gonna answer you, because if I tell you what time it is, we'll start a conversation. I'll like you, I'll invite you to dinner, you'll meet my daughter, she'll like you, you'll like her, you'll fall in love, and you'll get married. He said, and the last thing I'm going to do is have my daughter marry a man who doesn't wear a watch. So I cracked up reading that because he played the whole picture of that one interaction with this young gentleman, and that my daughter is not getting ready to marry a man who doesn't own a watch. So I'm not even engaging in conversation with you because I can see how this picture is going to play out, and it's not even worth my time. How many times have we been able to see the picture and we could see how the picture was going to play out, but we acted anyway? And we acted anyway in a scenario and a picture that we didn't want to see to the end. What's been the consequence of that? From a relationship, from a job, even taking it back to hiring the wrong person. You know what that picture is going to look like. You know how the movie will end when you make a poor hiring decision. You know how the movie will end when you choose the wrong person to spend your time and your life with. You know how that picture is going to end. You can see it. So what do we do, and how do we play out the movie so that we don't make the wrong decision? Misty says, trust your gut. It's usually right. You're exactly right. And that's what he says in the book. Trust your gut and trust your instincts. God gave us gut instincts and reactions that we sometimes listen to, but far too often we avoid, therefore causing the negative reaction that follows. When you think through, and something that I outlined in the book, with cause and effect and versus sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping is much bigger than the connection between what I am doing now and what will occur immediately following. It's about what I will ultimately end up with if I sow this particular behavior, choice, attitude, value, or strategy. It is the long-term view. What will happen in the end is the question wise leader seeks to answer. So I'm gonna share with you a personal story. I'm in my little workout top because I hurried and pushed in a workout this evening after work before starting this my live broadcast, because I'm very dedicated to my overall health. And for the last, I guess, couple of weeks, right up until Christmas time and a little bit after Christmas, I'd fallen off the wagon. I enjoyed the holidays and I took full advantage of the holidays and didn't exercise as much as I usually do and fell off of my eating routine and eating healthy, which was fine. I gave myself a little break. But today, when I was on that row machine, I thought I was going to pass out and I thought I was going to throw up and have to leave from working out because I had not worked out and I have not been treating my body right. But every time I exercise, and what drives me to continue to exercise is not the immediate result, but even today on that row machine, and when I thought to myself, oh, I'm just going to stop, like I am dying on here, I saw the end result. I saw my body this summer and reaching the goals that I want to achieve by summer. But not only that, because that's an immediate result. I saw myself at the age of 60. I visualized while I was on the row machine, Susan Porter at 60 years old, in great shape, traveling the world, jogging and hiking and doing all of these fun things. I saw myself at 80 years old, jumping out of bed like a spring chicken, with my bright red lipstick on and my big rim glasses and my long salt and pepper hair in fantastic shape, not looking like I'm 80 years old, but looking like I'm 60 years old. I saw the end picture. I saw the movie play out, and that the choice of me being on the row machine today, the choice of me making healthy eating decisions today was one scene in the long-term movie of my life. What is the long-term movie of your life? That's a question you have to ask yourself. God willing, I live to be 90 plus years old. What do I want that movie to look like when I'm 90? I don't want it to be where I can't get up and move around, where I don't know who my family members are, and I can't take care of myself and I'm immobile. I don't want that for myself. I want my 90-plus-year-old self to be fun and fantastic and living a full life. So the movie is what I'm focused on and how the movie will end, not the one scene of discomfort that I'm having to experience. So think about that for yourself. He talks through the story of the young lady that wanted to be a lawyer. And she, thought, well, golly, 3 years of law school and, all of the things that are involved in that, I just don't have time to put into that. And he said, well, do you plan to be alive in 3 years? And she said, well, yeah, I sure hope so. He said, okay, so then who do you want to be in 3 years? If you plan to be alive 3 years from now, why would you not take the chance and go to law school and change the rest of your life and change the rest of your movie? Because in 3 years from now, you will either graduate from law school or you will be in the same job that you don't like, doing the same thing that you don't like, making the same income that is not enough for you to make according to what you personally want. So how much of our life are we putting on hold, and are we preventing ourselves from being able to achieve because we're not playing out the full movie? We're only focused on the immediate scene and the discomfort of that immediate scene. I mentioned earlier that I work in dentistry. I've come across numerous dental assistants or business team members that want to be dentists. And I said, well, why don't you go to dental school? They said, oh, well, that's 4 years and that's, a bunch of debt. And I just don't have time for that. Okay, well, in 4 years, you hopefully will still be alive, right? Well, yeah, I hope so. So in 4 years, you'll still be in the same place you are, or you could be somewhere different. What's the end of the movie of your life? That's a question to ask yourself. And I encourage you to write down on paper, what is the end scene of your movie? How does your movie play out? So from what you want in your movie, what steps are you taking? And how are you changing the scene of your movie to get you to where you want to be at the end? Visualize your end result. And with that, you have to be prepared for what the challenges may be and the obstacles that may come in your way so that you know how to work past and through those obstacles. My girlfriend and I last year, I can't believe I'm saying last year, it is 2018, but in July of 2017, I took what I call a mental retreat with one of my very best friends. And it was interesting to me. I said, golly, I'm 44 years old. I said, we just turned, well, at that time I was about to turn, it was in July, my birthday's in August. And I said, golly, I'm about to be 44. I said, so looking at my life, God willing, I have another 44 years of life to live, and hopefully more than that. But at a bare minimum, I have another 44 years of life to live. I said, so when I think back on the current 44 years, well, 20 of those years, give or take, were spent in school, from kindergarten through high school through college. So a good 20 years was spent in school. So in the reality of my life, only half of it has been spent pursuing my career and making those choices in my life to, start a family and my career. So what could I do in the next 44 years? And what it made me realize is that, okay, so in this first 44 years, I spent a good 20 in school. I could, if I want to do something different, spend 4 of the next 44 years back in school, be it working on my master's degree, getting a second bachelor's degree, whatever it may be that I want to do. I could spend another 4, maybe even 5 years of my next 44 in school. That still gives me 39, 40 more years of life to live. That still gives me an opportunity to start all over. When did we decide we couldn't start over in our life? When did we decide that where we are up to this point is how it has to be for the rest of our life? Who said that that's how you have to live? You don't. You are the creator of your movie for your life. Whatever it is you want it to be, it doesn't matter where you are. You can start right now. You can change it. You can redirect it. You're the director, the producer, the writer, the engineer, the prop guy, the light guy. You're everything for your life. So who said that where you are today It's where you have to be 40 years from now, 30 years from now, 1 year from now. Who says? No one. No one says it. And take that back. Who says it? We say it to ourselves in our negative self-talk. We say it to ourselves when we put that limit on us. We say it to ourselves when we believe what the naysayers have to say. It doesn't matter at what point you are in your life. You can have whatever it is you want to achieve. You want to be an actor? Okay, fantastic. Who said you had to start acting at 12? Start taking classes now. Start trying out for commercials. Start going for little auditions. Sign up for a local theater. Get on the stage now. Start sowing your seeds today to reap the benefits you want tomorrow. Rome was not built in a day. I remind myself of that over and over and over again. I remind my team of that when they're trying to make changes in their office and they're trying to implement systems or they're trying to develop and train a new team member. I tell them Rome was not built in a day. It was built one brick at a time. What brick are you laying? And the next brick and the next brick. You don't sow and reap in the same season. Start sowing so you're able to start reaping. Simply Mo says on Instagram, I'm currently rehearsing for the big role in my movie. It's important to prepare for the end result. You're exactly right. It's important to prepare for the end and take the steps today to get you to that point. When he talks through in chapter 4, and we're going for tonight, we're talking through the first 4 things that a leader must do. And then we'll finish the book in our next live broadcast. So you'll want to make sure that you join us the next time. But he talks about putting Superman out of a job. So what I wrote as a takeaway note was be the doer instead of waiting on someone else to do. Be the change and take action. So putting Superman out of a job. The number 4 principle of a deja vu leader is deja vu leaders continually ask themselves, what can I do to make this situation better? What can I do? Personal accountability, personal ownership. So one thing that I note, think of an example for yourself at work. So this is something, I actually just had this conversation with a team member yesterday. She was telling me of all the things that were going wrong in the practice. You know, this person doesn't do this and this person doesn't do that. And they don't follow this system and they don't follow that system and wah. That's literally how I felt. I'm like, okay. And I said, okay, so let me ask you a question. What have you done to change the situation? And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you're telling me about these things that are going wrong in the practice and what this person's not doing and what that person's not doing. What have you done to change the situation? She said, well, I told the administrator, or I told the doctor, or I'm telling you. I said, okay, well, you're telling me, but you telling me is not you doing anything about the situation. You're waiting for someone else to come in and fix something that's bothering you. What can you do to change the situation? How can you be a part of the solution instead of simply being a part of the problem? Because complaining about the problem and not doing anything about it, you're a part of the problem. If you don't like what's going on, then change it, then fix it, then work towards a solution. And if you can't be the immediate impact on the solution, then great, you came to me, then come to me with some ideas for me to help you fix the situation. You know, if you came to me and said, hey, this is what's going on, these are some things, we're not following this system, we're not following that system. These are some thoughts that I have on how we can improve the situation. What do you think? Or how can you help me to help the team move forward? That's a completely different scenario than just simply complaining about something and not wanting to do anything about it. And instead, you're waiting for someone else to swoop in and fix it, instead of you taking responsibility yourself and being a leader, because you don't need a title to be a leader. You don't have to be the person with the title in front of their name or behind their name to be the one to make the change. You don't need the title to be a leader. how can you then be a part of the solution? So when you focus on the solution, you're owning it. You're owning the problem and you're owning the result with a problem coworker. So I'll give you an example, a personal example of myself. And it's a slight example to this, but I think it still speaks true to what we're saying as far as being the change and putting Superman out of a job. When I used to work for Bank of America, I had a team member. We were both in the same role. We were both recruiters. And for whatever reason, I guess I just didn't really connect with her when I first started. We would literally be side by side with each other, and she would never speak at all. I don't care what. Like, she just would not say anything to me. Well, what did I do? I didn't talk to her either. I didn't say anything to her. And it dawned on me. I said, okay, Susan, if you don't like what you're getting, don't give what you got. That's something that, like, that's a nugget for you guys. Let me tell you, if you don't like what you're getting, don't give what you got. Don't give back to someone what they're giving you if you don't like it. So I changed it. I started speaking to her first. I didn't keep count and keep a tally of how many times she spoke to me first versus how many times I spoke to her first. I just treated her the way I wanted to be treated, the golden rule. And she returned tenfold. And not only did she return, she acknowledged to me, you know, when you first started, I didn't really like you. I said, really? I couldn't tell. Ha ha, yeah, I could tell you didn't like me. And why? And she said, I don't know why I didn't like you. She said, I just heard about you. You know, I'd moved to Dallas from Austin, Texas. She said, I'd heard about you and I just didn't like you. I didn't hear anything negative about you. I just decided I didn't like you. I said, oh, and she said, and then I found out that you were actually really a nice person and you've become a confidant for me and you've become someone that I lean on for help and support. And I said, well, vice versa. And I never said to her, yeah, I know, because I could tell you never spoke to me and I just started speaking to you first. But it was in my mind a confirmation that if you don't like what you're getting, don't give what you got. And that was up to me to change that. And when you think about that with what Dr. Cloud talks about in putting Superman out of a job, when we think through the problems that we face as leaders or the problems that we face at work, a lot of those problems have to do with people. They have to do with people. So when you have situations and challenges with a team member or someone that you manage, when you have those problems, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing that's contributing to this? Is there anything in my attitude or my actions that have contributed to this problem? Be it their lack of performance, be it their poor attitude, the negative way that they interact with each other, how they approach you. You have to ask yourself and look first inward. What have I done? What are my actions? What's my attitude that may be causing this result? You have to figure out how to communicate to the other person that you see the role that you've played in the problem. We talk a lot at our company about speaking to someone in their DISC profile and really understanding the other person and communicating to what they need to hear and how they need to receive communication, not communicating with them with how we like to receive information. If I'm quick and to the point, but I'm talking to someone who needs more detailed information, then I need to give them more detailed information. It doesn't matter that I want it quick and to the point. That's not how they receive information. So it's up to me to communicate to them in their language, not force them to then communicate, to receive my communication in my language. You have to be open to acknowledging and apologizing when you've done something to offend someone. And that can be a tough thing to do. I speak from personal experience, but if you want resolution, if you want to move forward, then you have to be willing and able to make the change personally and to own the change personally in order to receive a different result. You can't sit and complain and wait for someone else to fix a problem that you're not willing to invest in and fix yourself. It's very simple as that. If there's a conflict between two team members at work and they come to you, she said this, she said that, and we need you to fix it. You can't fix it for them. But what you can do as a leader is you can bring those two people together. What you can do as a leader is you can facilitate the conversation to help them find a resolution to their own problem. That is what you can do as a leader. That is a part of leadership. It's not only what you do for yourself, but it's also how you're able to help influence and inspire and change with other people. So you're not the middleman going between them, but you bring them together to help them to uncover and discover a resolution for whatever the conflict may be. When you think about the conflict and dealing with, even with your career. So someone comes to you, or you may think this for yourself. We're going to talk about it from a personal level. For yourself, you may say, gosh, I never get the promotions, or why did they pick that person over me? And I never get asked to do anything extra at work. I'm never asked to take on new projects. Well, that's you waiting for someone else to solve your problem. How about instead of waiting for someone to come to you and say, hey, would you take on this project? How often do you make yourself available to take on a project? When something is going on and you see that there is a problem in your department, within your team, do you go to your supervisor, to your director and say, hey, I've noticed this problem. These are some ideas that I have to change the situation and to provide a solution. I'd really like to work to implement this. Can we work together? Is this something I can take on? And you just volunteer yourself for the project. Do we volunteer ourselves, or do we, well, I'm not dealing with that problem, that she can fix that over there? Is that what we say? Or do we own it? Do we want to be a part of the solution? Or do we wait for someone else? And if it's not you, and I hope that it's not, but if it is, that's okay. Because the purpose of us being here and reading this book is to recognize the things that behaviors that we may want to change within ourselves, but also to figure out the tools we need to help others change behaviors, to put them in a better position, to make them a more effective team member, to help them grow in their career. If we have the ability to influence and develop other team members, how do we develop them to move forward in their career? What do we need to do to move forward in our career? I call myself the queen of climbing the corporate ladder. And I have the job experience to back that up. And what has been my secret to success? One, I pay attention to what's going on around me. I listen and I pay attention and I duplicate the behaviors that I see as positive and instrumental to change. So, for example, when my director came down and she was with me in visiting some of my offices, and I listened to the verbiage that she used in the way she was communicating with one of my doctors. And I thought, okay, and I made a mental note. The next time she and I were together, I was having a conversation with the doctor, and I used some of the same verbiage that she did. And I put it in my own words and made it personal for me and owned it myself. But I listened to the verbiage that she used that was successful and useful, and I adapted that to my own and used it as well. And she made note of it because she commented to me that she said, you know, you really listen. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I tried to, like, where did this come from? And she said, you utilized verbiage that I used when I was here 2 months ago. She said, and it was fantastic in your conversation with your doctor. You got the point across. You were very clear. It was received well. And I'm impressed that you actually listened to what I said and how I said it. Her experience was greater. She had more knowledge, more wisdom, more training. So why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I listen to what she said? Why wouldn't I adapt that, make it my own, but adapt and adopt her verbiage in my communication with my doctors to help me succeed? So I've always been very observant and taken on that same skill set of those that I see to be positive. I also don't say no. I didn't say no to opportunities. And it was, we need someone to do this project or that project. You know, are you willing to do so? Yeah, I'll do it. I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to take on this additional project. And it's just about making yourself available and open. And I do a whole training on how to climb the corporate ladder that definitely you want to make sure that you're subscribed, that you follow our page, and that you're part of our community, because we'll have some of these trainings as we move forward. And there's a whole piece that I do on climbing the corporate ladder, but there's some very key things that you can do. And this principle, number 4, that Dr. Cloud talks about, and putting Superman out of a job and not waiting on someone else to do it, but you doing it instead, that is a key component to helping you not only have better satisfaction at work, to help you achieve greater results at work, to help you be noticed at work, but it's from a personal satisfaction of just getting it taken care of and not waiting for someone else to come in and save the day. And that applies to all aspects of your life, not just within work, but within all aspects of your life. He says in his book, let me see, God's system demands of those, wait, who expects success? God asks us to ask him for his provision to open doors and make opportunities for that initiative to be exercised. We must pray, and we must also act. We have to do something, and we have to make a move, whether it's at work, at home, in any aspect of our life. We have to make a move. My Instagram is going to cut out on the live feed, so I'm going to plug it back in, so stay tuned. As I mentioned before, I'm doing a dual broadcast. But within that, and getting ready to wrap up, let me just get my Instagram live going again. Give me one quick sec. And okay, so we're back on now with Instagram. But taking that forward, and for tonight, we reviewed the first 4 principles of 9 Things That a Leader Must Do by Dr. Henry Cloud. And if you don't already have the book, I encourage you to get this book. It is a fantastic read. So many examples of things that you can apply to your life, both professionally and personally. But we will conclude in our review of 9 Things a Leader Must Do and review the last 5 principles in our next post. And I'll give you that time and date here in just a moment. But for those of you who have all joined us, I do have some special giveaways for you. So again, Mojo Original is all about personal and professional growth. We are here to help people achieve their goals and their dreams. And as I mentioned before in chapter 1, the hidden treasure within me is to help people be their very best self, be it personally or professionally. That is what I love to do, to inspire and motivate others in any way possible. I have 2 prayers that I pray. One is for God to give me a clear vision so I may know where to stand and what to stand for. And my second prayer, and it's actually written right here on my desk, and it says, Lord, allow me to lead others so they may achieve their goals and dreams, giving the honor and glory to God. And so that is what I feel is my purpose and what is in my heart to do. And I'm so excited that you guys were able to join us this evening as we talk through this book. This was my first live broadcast, and so super excited and just super thankful and very humble that you all were able to join us. But Mojo Original, we do provide one-on-one personal and professional growth coaching. We have a series of programs that we offer, anywhere from 1 month, 4-week program to a 12-week program. You can check it out on our website at www.mojooriginal.org, www.mojooriginal.org, and check out our website. We do personal and professional growth coaching. We also do group trainings where we will come and work with your team, work with your department, focus on customer service, focus on career development, goal setting, anything in that professional aspect. We definitely can partner and work with you on. And we also speak at events, and we speak from the big stage as either a guest speaker or a keynote speaker. So definitely check out our website and contact us. And if you do sign up for any of our services and want to utilize us to help you grow personally or professionally, mention that you found us and you were part of this Facebook Live feed and this Instagram Live feed in the discussion of 9 things a leader must do, and you'll receive a 20% discount on whatever service you select. So a little nugget out there for you guys, and it's exclusive for my online live community that we have here. And hey, Vic and Instagram, it's so good. My college buddy just logged in Instagram. So excited to see him there. And just so many of you that have joined in. Thank you so much, Misty and Robin and Sonia and Jordan and Mike and Stephanie and Andrea and just everyone that joined. And we hope you'll join us next time. So when's the next Facebook Live for the completion of this book? It will be on next Thursday. So 1 week from today. Next Thursday, same time, same place. Gives you a week to get the book, read the book, and be ready to discuss the book, and more of this will come. So thank you guys so much. If you have any additional questions, definitely message me through Instagram or email us, and definitely check out our website. But I hope you guys have a fantastic night. This has been Susan Porter, and we are here to help you find your mojo. Have a great night.